And welcome back to Alice Talks Football. Welcome back to a live Manchester United news, transfer news, and update show. We've got an update on Leny Yoro and his injury. Not as bad as first thought, but he, De Ligt, and Aiden Heaven are not in training today. Toby Collier back on his way to fitness and back in training today. Zirkzee doing what he can to be back for the Europa League final, but it's looking unlikely. Ruben Amorim, pretty brutal. Amorim reportedly has concerns over a number of players' attitudes, wants a number of players out of Manchester United. He's ready to basically get rid of a lot of players. We're going to go into that in more detail, but I also want to talk about midfield plans in regards to what United are doing. It's confirmed we are going for a midfielder. It's a top priority. You know, there was the Edison rumours yesterday. But why I think some of INEOS's midfield plans are maybe concerning in the sense of what kind of midfielder are Manchester United going for? Updates coming in as well ahead of the Europa League final that Kulusevski is going to be out for Tottenham, which would mean no Maddison, Kulusevski and Bergvall, which means Tottenham could be forced into a midfield three or Benton, Kassar, Basuma, which is pretty shocking, being honest. But we might not have De Ligt, Yoro, Leacher, Heaven. So our backline isn't going to be great. But there's also other updates coming in on Kobbie Mainoo and his future. We're going to talk a little bit about Belieber. Manchester United apparently making Adam Wharton a top priority midfield signing, according to Court Offside. Updates on Callum Hudson-Odoi to Manchester United. Ruben Amorim paying for his staff's Europa League final tickets. The leadership and their feelings on Ruben Amorim revealed. Ramada gives an update on Cunha and more updates on Bruno Fernandes to Saudi. All to be covered. So there's a lot of news to get into in today's show. So big up everybody for tuning in. Hope you're all doing well. And we're going to get right into the news. We're going to get right into the stories. But I'm going to start with this comment here from Nick Jones saying, "Hi Alice, our midfield needs serious reinforcement. We've been linked to Wharton today. In an ideal world, who would be your three midfield signings? I'd go Edison, Wharton, Dibbling." I'm assuming you mean Dibbling for the 10. I would say someone like Belieber. Someone like Wharton or Stiller, and I'd say like a more attacking-minded midfielder like a Mbeumo, I guess. But anyway, let's dive into the Yoro news because Yoro was not spotted in training today, so a lot of people are concerned. Is that Yoro out for the Europa League final? Let's dive into the Yoro news. So Solly's just come out with an update now in regards to Leny Yoro and said this: Leny's injury isn't as serious as first thought. Type of extent unknown for now, but the kid's a monster and even willing to play injured. Apparently he has had an X-ray and it's not broken and it's not bone. That's what they know for sure. So there's nothing broken, there's nothing fractured. So that's the good news as well. So it's not as serious as they first worried about. It's unknown, but he'd be willing to play whatever. Personally, don't think he will be risked, but you never know what he does in the next few days. We'll try to know more. So in regards to Leny Yoro's injury, you know, there's the hope that he'll be back for the Europa League final. He definitely won't be risked versus Chelsea. He's not in training yet, but it's not expected to be as serious as first thought as well. And he also said, as much as I want to update United fans, I also don't want to help Spurs in any way leading to the final, so I'll probably slow down on the injury updates. It's something else that Sully mentioned in there. But it seems more positive with Yoro. We've got Yoro and we've got Zirkzee. Right now, we need Yoro and Zirkzee back for the final. Zirkzee probably wouldn't even be fit if he is back for the final, so that's looking unlikely. But there's the hope that Yoro will be able to play because we've got no Leacher, we've got no De Ligt. You know, it's worrying times. It's worrying times. But that, you know, Sully's a good source of information, and hopefully Leny Yoro will be back in time. Apparently Arsenal are close to signing Gyökeres. I don't know how reliable that source is, but that is one to keep an eye on. It's one to keep an eye on. As long as United don't have a ball carry pressure resistant central midfielder, United will never improve. We have too many players who are afraid to keep the ball and throw it away cheaply, and I agree. We're going to talk about the midfield. We're going to talk about the midfield plans, but I want to dive into Ruben Amorim's comments on the Manchester United squad. So bear with me while I get that up on the screen. So, the United Muppeteers on their YouTube channel, go check it out. They go into lots of detail, very credible. We're speaking about many things. And it was said that Amorim has concerns over a number of Manchester United's players' attitude problems, and Amorim had demanded a huge turnover of players this summer, according to the Muppeteers. They expressed that Amorim has concerns over a few players' attitude, but Amorim wants a huge turnover of players in the summer. Now, that comes as no surprise. We touched upon this yesterday. I think Ruben Amorim is looking at the fact we're in 16th. He says he's embarrassed we're in 16th. He's happy to turn over the following players: Bayendir, Heaton and Arna, Lindelof, Malacia, Luke Shaw, Johnny Evans. He'd be happy to turn over Ericsson, Casemiro, despite his good form. There's rumours that Ugarte and Mainoo aren't even safe. There's obviously Rasmus Højlund, there's Marcus Rashford, there's Garnacho isn't safe, Anthony, Jadon Sancho, just to name a few. He's willing to pretty much get rid of a lot of Manchester United players. He's not happy with the attitude of a number of players. And Ruben Amorim knows that next year is his make or break. He's going to have a window, and what we do in the window could massively determine his future. Next season is make or break. We need a good window. He needs players out. He needs players in so he can make his print on the Manchester United squad, and we can be in a good position next year. He wants players with the wrong attitudes out. He wants a high number of players coming in, a high number of players out. He wants a big rebuild, and reportedly, INEOS are willing and ready to give a big rebuild. Did he have another interview today? Probably. Who knows? He's had about 400 interviews, hasn't he, as well? Mainoo not athletic enough for the league. He needs to go never sprints. I think you're completely wrong. Watch what Mainoo did last season, how unbelievable Mainoo did last season. I think what Mainoo needs is a pre-season. I bet you Kobbie Mainoo next season is going to be unreal for us. And the reason I say that is he didn't have a pre-season, and he's never really had that time to build up his fitness. I think that Kobbie Mainoo, give him a pre-season, I think he's going to come back next season if he can stay fit, and I think he's going to be unreal for us. I think people are turning on Kobbie Mainoo too quickly. If you saw what Kobbie Mainoo did last season, then I'm not turning on him because he's not been at his best this season. I'm not at all. He's learning a new system. He's had a lot of injury issues. He's 19 years of age. I am convinced Kobbie Mainoo is going to be unreal for us next season. And maybe I'm deluded, but I just have a feeling that he's going to be good. The worry is, what is his role? Is it a 10? Is it someone in the pivot? It doesn't seem to work with Ugarte. But look, I have to say, I'm not worried about Mainoo. I think that the system we haven't found the best out of him. But what I saw last season under Ten Hag, I just feel like Mainoo, he's such a good player. He's going to find a way to get in that midfield. And, I think we need him. I actually prefer him deeper because I think we need him in build-up. But he needs someone really athletic with him. But I do think Mainoo missing pre-season and the injuries has not helped him. I've seen news saying Man United will stick with Amorim regardless of what happens in the final because he deserves a chance. 100%, that is correct. So even if we lose the Europa League final, Amorim is staying. United will stick with him. Enrique was right on Ugarte. Ugarte's brought a lot of things that we need off the ball. He's been very good in some big games, but he has limitations on the ball, and that has been seen. He had a shocking game versus West Ham. I like Ugarte, but I only like Ugarte if he's paired with the right midfielder. I think he's got limitations, and we need to find the right midfielder to come in. Ugarte and Belieber would be decent in the pivot. There's no doubt about that. Ugarte has weaknesses, but he brings much needed legs and work rate. But we definitely need an improvement on there. Ugarte, I think the worry with Ugarte is you spent 50 million on him and he's giving squad player vibes. He's given like Endo at Liverpool, how when Liverpool needed to rotate the midfield, Endo can come in. And Endo was 15 million. Ugarte gives Endo energy. Great player to come in. But when you spend 50 million on him, I think people are concerned to why we probably need another midfield addition. I know what you mean. But I think Ugarte started really well and then has dropped off a little bit. And I think people are going a bit too harsh on Ugarte. I think he's got limitations. I think we need a midfielder. But I do think people are very, very harsh on Ugarte as well. So let's continue into some more stories. So, Zirkzee is fighting to be fit for the Europa League final. Sully said this yesterday. Joshua Zirkzee is currently doing light intensity training on grass. Return before the end of the season is unlikely but not ruled out. He's working very hard in the hopes of making the Europa League final. Original recovery plan is targeted for pre-season return. So sadly, as much as I'd love to see Joshua Zirkzee fit, even if he is back in time for the Europa League final, it would be a stretch. He wouldn't be fit. We saw him at the beginning of the season when he wasn't fit. Joshua Zirkzee being available for the Europa League final and fit is very unlikely, which is such a shame because Højlund worries me. The one thing is, Højlund has scored a goal against Tottenham, I believe. Højlund scored against Tottenham last season. So, who knows? But Mickey van der Ven and Romero versus Højlund, it worries me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Someone said this would be a good week for Mickey van der Ven to do his hamstring. I don't wish injury on anyone, But if Mickey van der Ven could just be out for a week, that would be really handy. Like, I don't want Mickey van der Ven to get injured because he's had so many issues with injury. But if he was just to be out for 2 weeks, it would probably do us a favour, because I think Tottenham are so much better with Mickey van der Ven in. But I wouldn't wish injury on him because he's had so many issues with injury. It's like wishing injury on Mason Mount. You can't wish injury on Mickey van der Ven. He's had it hard. He's had it hard. Dan said, I wouldn't risk Joshua Zirkzee, even if he made the final, could get injured again. Yeah, and that could hamper next season as well. Yeah. Agati is exactly what we thought he'd be. He's a tackler that offers little on the ball, no progressive passes or carries. He's good on the ball in the final third, but not the build-up third. And we need to bring in a midfielder that's good in the build-up, the first phase and the second phase. He's been all right getting assists and goals in the final phase, but yes. Mainoo's technical brilliance blinds people to his lack of athleticism. He's the reason the team had 25 chances against us every game last season. Or maybe the fact that he was also paired with Casemiro and his lack of athleticism. Mainoo with the right midfield partner would be a beast. I think Mainoo, I like him deeper, Mainoo, but I do think we need Amorim's system to be more complete and better workers to get the best out of him. Continuing on, so Tottenham fear that Kulusevski will miss the Europa League final due to injury. So Man United getting a blow to Yoro, Tottenham getting a blow to Kulusevski. Tottenham without their 3 best midfielders, Man United without their 3 best centre-backs ahead of this Europa League. I think like Maddison, Kulu, Bergvall's a huge blow for Tottenham, but Yoro, De Ligt and Leacher is obviously a massive blow to Manchester United. So we've got no defence, they've got no midfield. I reckon they'll play Son or someone at 10. Surely wouldn't go Benteke, Bissouma Sarr. When I watched Benteke, Bissouma Sarr last play together, it was atrocious. Maybe Kulu will be back in time. I think Kulu's like a Leny Yoro. Who knows? Tottenham want him back. United want Yoro back. But even though Kulusevski hasn't been great lately, that's a huge blow for Tottenham because he's a hard worker. Sarr is good talent and will probably score against us. Sarr's got good box striking, ball striking outside the box. Benteke's looks a lot better lately. Bissouma's looked a lot better, but that is definitely a big blow for Tottenham. Kulusevski always has a good game against us. He always does. Blaming Mainoo for how Erik ten Hag set up the team is wild. I agree. Alice has really good judgment about players from most clubs. She clearly watches a lot of football. Appreciate that. Maybe they play Archie Gray in midfield. I think Archie Gray is still very raw. Like, he's looked good at centre-back, but he hasn't quite made that impression in midfield yet. Solanke and Johnson, yeah. Solanke, Johnson, Son front 3. That will cause us issues. And without our 3 best centre-backs, that does worry me. Peter says we will not progress with Agate. Tackling a lot doesn't make you a good player. We need strong thinking players in midfield and stick of us being pushed about midfield. I think Agate's needed as a partner for someone that's good on the ball. Agate and Edison, or 2 Agates, we're not going to get anywhere unless you're Atletico Madrid, unless you're Nottingham Forest. We need someone that is good on the ball. Agate's limitations is what we need. So yeah, let's talk about midfield and let's talk about Manchester United's midfield plans. So the Manchester Evening News said this: a new midfielder is a top priority for Manchester United. Eriksen is set to be released, Casemiro's future is uncertain, entering his final year of his contract, and Mainoo rejected the club's first contract offer. Mainoo has also lost his place in the first team in recent weeks. Eriksen's going, Casemiro's going, Mainoo's future is uncertain, Bruno's playing deeper, Agate, not many people are convinced by him, Collier, who is back, has had some injury issues. There is a lot of concern around the midfield. Now, recently we've been linked to Edison, who would cost between 50 to 60 million. And I do think while Edison is good, if we weren't to spend 50 to 60 million on Edison when we've just signed Agate, I feel like there is no point. Edison is a good player. Edison, if we didn't have Agate, would be a fantastic signing. But we need somebody that is comfortable on the ball, can resist the press, that can help him build up. We need a Gravenberg. We need a Stiller. We need an Adam Wharton. We need a Moises Caicedo type player. We do not need another Agate work rate monster. Of course, work rate has lacked. Of course, Ruben Amorim demands intensity. But we need somebody that's got a bit of everything. He's got the work rate, he's got the legs to play in the Premier League, but he's also got that technical brilliance. He's also completely press resistant. You know, we know that Edison is a genuine target, and I like Edison, but him and Agate, the pivot together, that concerns me. So, Man United need a progressive centre mid badly. Belieber, Stiller, Wharton. Belieber 80 million, Wharton 80 million. We're going to have to break the bank, but it's one of those where I'd rather us not sign a midfielder than spend 50 million on another midfielder like Agate that we don't need, and save that money for then when we can spend 80 million on a midfielder we do need. The midfielders we need are going to be 80 to 100 million pounds. We don't have 80 to 100 million pounds. Maybe we go for Hayden Hackney and go for the profile like we did with Dorgu. Dorgu isn't quite ready-made yet, but he's like the Alphonso Davies Kirkers profile. He could be ready-made in a few years because we couldn't afford them. We couldn't afford Nuno Mendes. Maybe we go for a Hackney. He'd be like the Dorgu. But I'm looking at Belieber. I'm looking at Wharton, and I'm thinking, you know what? There's no point spending 60 million on Edison when you could just spend an extra 20 million to get those two. Still, it would be the pick of them all, of course, but I don't think he wants to go to Manchester United, and with his clause, there will be a lot of competition. But this worries me, our midfield situation, because even if we have to spend a fair bit, this is exactly what our team is crying out for. If we did not sign a guy, I'm all for Edison, but we have a guy, Collier. We don't need an Edison type player. We need someone that can resist the press and help him build up more. And I tweeted this earlier. I know we might have to break the bank for him. I know it's maybe not the most financially realistic, but I still can't believe that INEOS aren't all over Carlos Believer. I can't believe that we're not just looking at him. We've not really been linked to him. If we're ready to drop over 50 million on Edison, why don't we just stretch a bit more for a tier 1 midfielder that's actually going to fit what we need long term? Do you know what I mean? That's what I just think. Surely, Adam Wharton, Carlos Belieber, that is the type of midfielder that we want. I prefer Belieber to Wharton. I think Belieber will be better than Wharton. I think Wharton, because he's English, will get a little bit more hype. And I know Belieber makes silly mistakes. I know he gives away penalties. I know he gives away fouls. So does Casemiro at times. But yeah, we need somebody like that. Vitinha's world-class. We need another world-class midfielder. I've always said this. Games are won and lost in midfield. The amount of football games that won and lost in midfield. Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, McAllister. Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, McAllister, on paper, fantastic midfield. Liverpool won the league, not just because of Salah's brilliance, not just because of Van Dijk's brilliance, but because they had the best midfield all season. Games are won and lost in midfield, and we need a midfielder like a Belieber, like a Moises Caicedo, like an Adam, maybe Adam Wharton's one for the future, but we need that kind of midfielder where PSG have got Vitinha, they've got Fabian Ruiz, and they've got João Neves. Barcelona have Pedri and De Jong. We need that midfielder. We need that £100 million midfielder if we want to close the gap, because that midfielder, yes, it's 100 million, yes, it's a lot of money, but that is exactly how you close the gap. Exactly. Do you think we should play a strong lineup against Chelsea? Mixed lineup. Belieber will be very expensive like Caicedo. That is the worry. He'd be maybe £100 million. Because Belieber's going to be around 80 to 100 million with Wharton. We can't afford that. We can't even afford to give tickets to staff. But this is the thing. If we sell well, if we're looking at Edison that's 50 to 60 million, I'd rather not spend 50 to 60 million, wait, see what we can do in sales, and then raise a bit more money and push for Wharton or Belieber later on. That's what I think. Flower said this: the first priority should be getting the players with bad attitudes, lazy, only pass to their friends, don't put effort in training, talk negatively out. Otherwise, this will just spread to new. We need to get the bad eggs out. I don't think there's loads of bad eggs. I just think there's a lot of players that aren't good enough, and there's a lot of players with weak mentalities and attitudes, which Ruben Amorim wants to get rid of. But yeah, I know Belieber will be a bit like Caicedo. People saying INEOS all about saving. Why get Belieber when you've got Fletchers at home? Because Fletchers are nothing like Belieber. They're good talents, but they're not like Belieber in terms of what they would bring in terms of their strengths. Fabian Ruiz was 3 and United didn't even try to sign back then. I was shouting at us to sign Fabian Ruiz when he was available for free, and we didn't. It made me fuming. It absolutely did. But we need to. I do have concerns around the midfield. I do have concerns around INEOS' midfield plan, because it's so important, the midfield, and rebuilding the midfield. It's so, so important. And I just feel like we've neglected it. We've neglected a striker. We'll just go for another inexperienced striker, another experienced striker, and we're neglecting midfield, and I'm fed up of it. We need to get a proper midfielder. We need to get a proper striker if we want to catch. There's a player at Monaco that looks quite good in midfield, but he's very, very young. I don't know how ready he is now. But Belieber's out of United's price range, pointless conversation, much better value in the market. That's why I think we're going to look at someone like Hayden Hackney. Or we could be looking at that, is it that Kamara guy of Monaco? Who's the guy that looks good? I don't know. One sec. There's a guy at Monaco, and he looks really good. And I don't know I forgot what his name is. It's not Kamara. They've got a young player at Monaco that looks like a baller. but I can't remember what his name is. But from what I've watched of him, he looks good. But I forgot what his name is now because I've only watched him play twice. That Lamine Kamara, that is it. That is the guy. Lamine Kamara. He looks impressive. He's only 21, but he looks very impressive from what I've said. And I'm not going to act like I've watched him play more than 2 games because I have only watched him play about 2 games, but I liked what I saw. He could be one to have a look at as well. Let's get Declan Rice. I wish. Yeah. Anyway, let's continue on into some more news and stories. Oh, was it sarcasm? We won't get a midfielder because I got it now. I was going to say, like, sure, I thought you were being serious when you said we shouldn't sign a midfielder because we've got Fletchers, but that's something the Glazers would say to save a bit of money. Talking of midfielders, we've been linked to Adam Wharton, but it has come from court offside, and you know how I feel about court offside. Manchester United are making Adam Wharton a top priority for midfield, but Crystal Palace are preparing to offer the midfielder a new deal. I like Adam Wharton. I would love Adam Wharton at Manchester United. Is he a little bit overpriced? Yes. Is he a little bit overrated because he's English? Yes. Do I think Adam Wharton can be an elite midfielder? Yes. Do I think he's a little bit overrated and overhyped? Yes. But is he what Manchester United need? Absolutely. Would I pay £80 million for Adam Wharton? I would. I'd pay £80 million for Belieber. I'd pay £80 million for Adam Wharton if we had the money. Caught offside are hit and miss. They have some good journalists, some poor journalists. I'm sure we're looking at Adam Wharton. Why wouldn't we be looking at Adam Wharton? I don't know if we'll be able to get him. I don't know if he'd want to come to United. I don't know what Crystal Palace plans are for Wharton. But yeah, I'd be all over Wharton to Manchester United. I hope it's true. But look, for me, he's a £60 million player. You've got to pay that extra money for potential for English. He is a £60 million player. He was poor at the start of the season. He's had a few purple patches, but I do think he's what we need. But if I had to choose between Belieber or Wharton, I would go for Belieber. Douglas Luiz at Villa was amazing. City wanted him, Arsenal wanted him, everyone raved about him, and now nobody wants him. And there's that worry of, Adam Wharton's great, he comes to United, he's bad. Belieber's great, he comes to United, he's bad. We don't want to spend 100 million on a midfielder for them to be a flop, but I'm convinced that Belieber wouldn't be a flop. Caicedo, people talked about him being a flop for 2 months, but Caicedo wasn't a flop. Declan Rice wasn't a flop. Sometimes you just have to spend 100 million on that midfielder, because at the end of the day, Caicedo and Declan Rice have not been flops. And everyone laughed at Liverpool for not getting them, but then Liverpool went up really smart and got Szoboszlai, Gravenberch and McAllister, who've been excellent. I think Belieber would be class. But we've got to be smart with the budget because we can't have a midfielder that's going to flop. INEOS better figure out a way to properly spend some of these links as if we finished 6th rather than 16th. True. Alice, you can correctly say midfielders where games are lost and won. We play a 2-man midfield and you think we can carry athletic Mainoo, make it make sense. Mainoo's a good player. I don't know why Mainoo's being targeted. I think it's ridiculous. He's a kid and he was unreal last season, and give him a bit of time. We need to sort out the attack and score goals. We need to sort out the midfield. We need a midfielder that can progress the ball. We need 2 attacking additions that can score goals. We need another centre back for depth. We need another goalkeeper. We need potentially a wing back. I was thinking this the other day, a bit off topic, but I'm all for United going for Aït-Nouri. Aït-Nouri could be available on the cheapest contracts going down. I'm all for United going for Aït-Nouri. And you might be wondering, what do you mean United going for Aït-Nouri? What I mean by this is the fact that Dorgu can play right wing back and left wing back. Luke Shaw's probably going to go. Amos is very young. Aït-Nouri coming in as an experienced left wing back in our system. I don't think Wolves would give us Aït-Nouri and Cunha in one window. But someone said to me, Alex, being like, for real, who would you bring in? And I was like, you know what? I'd bring in Aït-Nouri. I'd bring in Cunha. I'd bring in Belieber. And I'd bring in Joan Garcia and I would bring in Jonathan David if I could bring in 5 signings. We're trying to be realistic. That's what I do, because I do think we still need a bit of improvement at wing-back as well. I think that's an area where we're weak. Mazraoui's better at right centre-back. We don't know about Dalot at wing-back yet. If INEOS want to finish 6th, surely they spend more in the summer. Hopefully. Apparently we're planning to spend big. Mainoo's one of our best players after Bruno, Ahmed and Yoro. Mainoo's quality, I agree. Mainoo's not had the best season. He's not been fully fit, but in terms of potential, in terms of ability, he's unreal. We've got to spend big. Apparently, INEOS are willing to spend big. Apparently, INEOS are willing to back Amorim, which is good news there. People say Mainoo's overrated. I don't know where he fits in the side. I just think we're judging Mainoo early. Did you not watch how unreal Mainoo was last season and what he did in those big games? And he had a few good cameos for us. I just don't think he's fully fit. I don't think he's fully fit. Wharton, people were calling him a flop a few months ago, and now everybody wants him for 100 million. He's a young player. Give him a bit of time. Give him a bit of time. Do you know what I mean? Good to hear someone brought up Jonathan David. He's great value for money. I can't believe we're not going for him. I would prefer him to Delap. I can't believe we're not going for him. I really can't. Continue on into other news. Manchester United are keeping an eye on Callum Hudson-Odoi's situation. Thought someone knocked on my door. Manchester United are keeping an eye on Callum Hudson-Odoi's situation at Nottingham Forest with his contract running out in June 2026. So there has been some links to Callum Hudson-Odoi, nothing advanced, just a few links. In regards to Callum Hudson-Odoi, he is 24 years of age. Callum Hudson-Odoi I like. I don't love, but I like. If we're in a position where we need a squad player, Callum Hudson-Odoi. He's not someone that's going to come in and he's going to start for us. But he's a player that, like, look, if we need a squad player, let's say we sign Delap, and let's say we sign Cunha, and let's say we sign Nori and Joan Garcia, and we go and get Baliba, and we sign those 5 players, and we've had a really good window, but we just feel that we need another name there for a bit of depth, potentially in attack, then Callum Hudson-Odoi is one I go for, because he could be available for a good fee. I like him, good player, but he's definitely someone I'd look at as a squad player. And right now, we don't need squad players. We need first-team signings. We need Mbeumo, we need Cunha. If you sign those 2, we can look at a squad player. He's someone I'd look at for depth or a January edition. But I like him, but I don't think we need him now. Ahmad, a player Man United should keep next season. They will. No point spending big if it's on the wrong players. Exactly. Look at Liverpool. Sometimes they've just not spent. They didn't spend last summer because they're like, there's no point bringing in someone we don't know if we really want. So now they've got loads to spend this summer and they won the bloody league. Yeah. David I can't believe we're not looking at David. I can't believe it, yeah. I mean, we might be looking at him, but we're just not looking at him like we're looking at Delap or Gyökeres. Yeah. Hudson-Odoi would fit into the right wing back. It's a decent option. But yeah, it's not my go-to. It's I like, but it's not I love. Let's do it. It's just okay. It's an option. Do you know what I mean? Continuing on, Ruben Amorim personally covered the cost for 30 United staff and their family to attend the UEFA Europa League final. The club had initially told coaches, physio, and other staff they'd have to pay for their own tickets, just to highlight Amorim's leadership and respect for his team behind the scenes. So Ruben Amorim knows that it's expensive to go. They don't make the same kind of money for him than him. So Ruben Amorim has basically paid for 30 United staff and their family to attend the Europa League final. Well done, Ruben Amorim. Do you know how embarrassing that is for INEOS? Do you know how embarrassing that is for INEOS? That they are so broke, even though they're owned by their billionaires, that they can't afford tickets for staff to go to a final. Ruben Amorim, the manager, is getting money out of his own pocket to pay for his staff to go to the final because the people above him are idiots. Ruben Amorim is making the people at the top of Manchester United look like idiots. He's showing them up. He's embarrassing them. Oh, just an update on Leny Yoro. Leny Yoro is heading to the gym at Carrington to do his own fitness work away from the main group. So if he's doing fitness work, it can't be too bad. So that's a positive there in terms of Leny Yoro. Alice, would you go for Sesko? No, I think he's overrated. Well, not overrated, overpriced. 30 million, I'd go for Sesko. 70 million, wouldn't go near Sesko. Do you know what I mean? Do you think Arsenal are going to get Gyökeres? Sadly, I think they will. Do you think we'll get Delap? Well, United have some confidence that they're going to get Delap. United have some confidence they're going to get Delap, and I'm going to get into that in a second. But yeah. Nori wouldn't be bad. I think Nori would be a good addition because Dorgu can play right wing back. Isn't Jonathan David going to Napoli? I'm not sure. Jonathan David. There's rumours of him going to Napoli. Do you know what's mad? Is Napoli got Osimhen from Lille, and then they're going to get Jonathan David from Lille. It looks like he's closest to Napoli, but there's nothing like advanced in it yet. I don't know why we're not looking properly at that. Big up everybody in the chat. We've got over 500 people watching, by the way. Big up to everybody. That cost cutting for the cup final seems amateurish. Can't imagine Real Madrid or Bayern doing that. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. It's a cup final. We don't know when we'll be in a cup final again, particularly a European cup final. We might not be in another European cup final for 10 years. And bloody Ratcliffe and Ineos and the Glazers won't pay out. So Ruben Amorim is paying out of his own pocket for everybody else. It winds me up. Ruben Amorim has embarrassed the Glazers. Ruben Amorim has completely shown up the Glazers as well. How many players do you think will sign, Alice? 5, maybe 6, depending on sales. I think we'll definitely sign 4. I think we'll sign 5 because we'll get like a small signing in. Do you know what? I think we'll sign 7 players, but I think 2 or 3 of them will be like smaller signings because I think there will be a few outs as well. But well done, Amorim. Well done, Amorim. You've absolutely shown up the Glazers. Well done, Amorim. Thank you, Amorim. Isn't it nice to have someone like Amorim at this club when Ineos and the Glazers and Ratcliffe won't take any money out their own pocket? Well done, Ruben Amorim. Let's continue on. I want to dive into a few more comments. The Muppeteers said this: the leadership want to give Amorim and the team the team he needs to compete next season. Amorim is extremely upset with the state of things at United, and the management are happy with Amorim's performances because they know what needs to be done. There's a lot of rumours, there's a lot of speculation about Amorim and his future, but Ineos are like, you know what? We know what needs to be done. We know there's a lot of work that needs to be done. We know there's a lot of players that need to go. There's a lot of players that need to come in. Ineos are very much like, you know what, we're going to give Amorim what he wants, we're going to give Amorim what he needs, and we're going to hope that Amorim can do the job, which is good news there. And then it was also mentioned by Laurie Whitwell that Ineos have no doubts about Ruben Amorim. He's there to stay. So even if we use the Europa League final, Ruben Amorim is very, very safe. Laurie Whitwell also mentioned that Bruno Fernandes to Saudi or Al Hilal is unlikely to happen, which is good news there. And then Fabrizio Romano came in with some updates on Matheus Cunha to United, saying that the talks are very positive. They're discussing the final details of the agreement with the player, and then United are going to meet Wolves and find a solution to get the deal done for Matheus Cunha. So there's quite a lot of updates coming in regards to Manchester United today on our future. There's also confidence from Manchester United they will be able to get Liam Delap. There's a confidence that Leny Yoro's injury is not too serious. There's a few positive signs there. Zirkzee wants to be back, but it's unlikely, as I reported earlier. We're looking at midfielders, but there's a bit of a worrying concern there. We're talking about Agate, and we need a midfielder that's different to Agate and sorting out the midfield. There was a lot to talk about. So, yeah, I just want to say a big thank you for everyone that tuned into today's show, because I am going to wrap up the live show here. But we got through a lot of news in 30 minutes. I will be back tonight. See you next time. Bye.